So today, to make your art project, you are going to need to have 3 pieces of construction paper, and these are scraps that I'm going to use. Please do not use nice brand new pieces of paper if you can help it. Try to find some scraps that you might have because you're going to be cutting out some shapes. You're going to need to have your construction paper, scrap paper. You're going to need to have a glue stick, a pair of scissors, and then you're going to need to have markers. So go ahead and get those materials ready to go. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to think about some shapes that we can cut out. And I'm going to just make some very basic shapes to start off with. And I'm going to try to do them nice and big. Oh, you're also going to need a piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to make a triangle using the edge of my paper. I think I'll make a circle. And then I think I'm going to make a square. All right, so I'm going to cut those 3 shapes out first. Okay, so on my piece of copy paper, this is just a scrap piece of paper actually. I started drawing on one side of it. I'm going to paste down my shapes that I just cut, and I'm going to put them into different spots. And it really doesn't matter where you put them, but you don't want them to be close together. You want them to be pretty far apart because you're going to be drawing a bunch of lines on your paper. So you do want them to be spread out. And you don't have to have them straight. Like maybe I'll make them a little bit more interesting and put them like that. Ooh, it's coming out kind of blurry. Okay, so I'm going to glue this down. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that everything's all dry. My corners are all dry. One thing that's pretty important, I would recommend, is make sure that you let your paper dry, because if you've got a little bit of glue and that glue gets on your markers, it's going to ruin your markers. So I would put this off to the side for a little bit just to make sure that it completely dries before you start the marker part. All right. Okay, so now that I have my paper all complete, this is when I start working on my line work. Now I can do this with different markers, different colors. I'm going to do mine today with fine line markers because I haven't really touched my fine line markers this year, so this will be a lot of fun. Ooh, I think I'm going to start off with some brown, maybe a purple, maybe a blue, maybe a green. Okay, so I'm just going to start off a little bit like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to give yourself a little bit of space. And you want a little bit of space, but you're going to trace over the different shapes. You're going around the shapes. So I'm giving myself a little bit of space before I draw my line. And if you need to turn your paper, you can go ahead and you can do that. And if you want to do it with patterns, you can. And the reason why we give ourselves a little space is just because this would take a long time. Now you can fill in the space with crayons, or if you want to just make it so it's really, really close together, you can. I'm just doing mine with a little bit of space just so I can show you. And so what's going to happen, and it's happening already right here on the corner, you're going to start to run into each other. And then it's going to start to make a really cool design. So I'm going to show you. So if you run out of the space right here, you're just going to pretend on your next one, you're just going to start. And it might help. You might want to lift up your pencil as it goes off the paper and then come back onto the paper, just like so. And I feel like I'm already going to start running into space right now. Ooh, this is going to be fun. And I think mine is spaced out even more than I would want yours to be spaced out. I probably want yours to have less space in it. But I think I'm doing mine just so I can start showing you what starts to happen. Okay, so I'm going to start. Can't go anywhere. Now I can come back. And right here, that's when I'm going to start to run into my circle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and continue that line with my circle. And I'm going to come back as far as I feel comfortable going. And then I'm going to bounce back out. And I'm going to go on to that shape. So look at the really cool design that that's already starting to make. So now you can start to see how the lines and the shapes start to work together. I think I'm going to do pink. And again, if you want to do different colors, you can. If you want to make patterns, you can. Ooh, this is going to start to happen, okay? So that ran into each other, so I kind of screwed up that. That's all right. I'm going to start to go off the paper with my circle. Ooh, that's cool. Ooh, so now I've got this really kind of neat shape that's going to start happening over in this part. I think I'm going to try my brown again. So now I'm going to go in here, bounce, bounce. Okay, so do you see how that's working? We're just tracing those shapes with those lines, and we're trying to make sure that we fill in all of the space. And if you need to turn your paper as you do this, you can keep on turning your paper. All right, so I'm going to fill out my entire space, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what my finished product looks like. Okay, so now I'm at a point where I can either stop, because I kind of like these white spaces right up here. I can either stop, but I also figured out another thing that I could do. I really like that this thing right here, it made like a little triangle shape. So if you want, with your marker, because it's small enough, if you want, now I'm just going to experiment. Remember, this is what art is. There's no right or wrong. There's no thing that you need to do or you're not supposed to do. You know, you just go ahead and you think, you know what? I think I want to add this here. I think I want to add that there. That's completely fine. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a fun little triangle, just because I want to see what's going to happen. If I do a fun little triangle and I want to go ahead and I want to start tracing that. And then I think I might do another circle right here. Okay, so these are some small little shapes. And I think I want to do the same exact thing where I start tracing it. Oh, that's kind of cool how that happened. That's fun. I just want to see what happens. I just did it. I go back to my first one. I started with purple. I do purple. I think I'm going to do green. So this is just about making some lines and see if you can come up with some really cool line designs and some cool patterns. Add some different things to it. I just want to do something a little bit different to give me, like, I like this, how that's coming out right there. When they start to run into each other, that's when it becomes really interesting. Like here, I know it's about to start getting different. So I can't keep going with that, but I can go like that. Or with that right there. And then maybe I can just make a little triangle right here. That's kind of fun. Okay, cool. I like that. So figure out a place that you think to yourself, I think this is pretty neat. I like it, and I want to go ahead and I want to stop. So I've filled out the majority of my space. You can keep going so you don't have any open spaces. If you want to, you can color in some of your lines. That might be pretty neat too. So you can go ahead and you can start coloring some of your lines. They might be a little thicker than others, and that might add some interest as well. That's cool. I like that. Let me figure out where else I want to do that. Some nice thick lines, just so it gives your eye some different places to go to. So all of a sudden I see like some variation and I see some interesting things happening. So right over here, it seems a little blah to me. So I might make a little bit more, maybe I'll do like a little triangle right in here. Make that line a little bit thicker. Ha! Oh yeah, that looks super. I like it. I like how that is turning out. It's making this kind of go up a little bit more. That's neat. Yeah, so this is the whole thing, guys. You want to try to experiment as much as you can. You want to play around with your lines, with your colors, with your shapes as much as you can. Ooh, I love that. So that's starting to look cool. So I might add a little bit more lines that are a little bit thicker. So if you want to do some thick lines, if you want to do some thin lines. And what I really like to do is I'll turn my paper a lot, because I might think, oh, you know what? I kind of like it this way, or I might like it this way. If you want to add some designs in your shapes, you can add some designs. It's all up to you. So I just want to see how you guys come along with this. It's a neat little activity where you're doing your shapes and you're integrating different line designs and different patterns in your artwork. Awesome. Have a great rest of your day. Hope you have fun.